Well, good evening, and thank you very much for coming tonight. The quality of a community is determined primarily by two things: the natural elements endowed by the Creator, the location, the natural beauty, the climate, the resources, and secondly, by the quality of the people. In Cupertino, we are blessed by both. Tonight, we are here to honor some of the people who make Cupertino the wonderful place that it is. And I'd like to begin by honoring His Honor, the Honorable Richard Lowenthal, our mayor.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. It truly is my honor to be able to stand here tonight in front of you. You know, Cupertino is a home of a miracle, a lot of miracles, but I want to talk about a particular one, and that's how we do so much with so little. Cupertino, as you've probably heard all the politicians say, our school district has the lowest funding of any school district in the county. It has the fourth lowest in the state out of over 800 districts. And yet it's the highest performing school district in the state. We have the #1 ranked elementary school. Cupertino as a city has the second lowest funding from property taxes in the state. And yet we don't have the layoffs that you see in other cities. We're building a new library. We have beautiful streets and a wonderful environment here to live with and wonderful people to be with and a spectacular diversity and multicultural life that anybody would love to be part of. What makes the difference between being the lowest funded school district and the lowest funded city and having such a spectacular place? The difference are the people sitting in here. It's the volunteers. It's the hard work of people in the school district. It's the hard work of people in the city, and it's the volunteers. And it's a unique feature. It's a unique advantage that we have in Cupertino that closes the gap between funding and being the best. And I'm really proud to be part of that. And I was proud recently when I went to the county. The county, you know, we talked about this property tax issue, and I was able to say to the county, I think you need it more than we do, because they do. The county is hurting. They're providing social services for all of us, and there's this property tax issue, and I was able to back off on it. And it's because Cupertino is such a great place to live, and it's a great place to live because of you. We're going to honor a number of people and some organizations tonight, and you're all part of that. And I'm sure you'll hear more about the individuals. But let me start on my first presentation. It's for Don Allen, and we've got a tape here. Let's roll the tape.
Every banker loves a sound investment. Perhaps that's why Don Allen has poured so much of himself into the Cupertino community for the past 3 decades. His investments haven't only been financial. He says it's easy to sit down and write a check. But much more than that, Don Allen believes in getting personally and wholeheartedly involved in every way possible. During the past year, Don has been an enormous factor in the success of Cupertino Community Services' Heart of Cupertino Capital campaign. As campaign chair, he raised more than $1.8 million for the project, which involves 24 affordable housing units and a new CCS office on Vista Drive at Stevens Creek Boulevard. While Silicon Valley businesses and individuals were struggling against the effects of a recession, Don was diligently pursuing and obtaining pledges for the CCS housing project. His hard work, along with the valuable links he created with foundations, corporations, and individuals, will benefit the social service agency and the community it serves for years to come. Fundraising is just one of Don's talents. Ask the men in the rotating homeless shelter, and they'll tell you he regularly makes a mean meatloaf for their dinner. He's also Cupertino's favorite MC, called upon often to speak at various events, and never disappointing. The chairman of Cupertino National Bank, Don has been active in the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club of Cupertino for years. He served as president last year of Rotary and says the group's Oktoberfest is a favorite event of his because it brings so many people together. Don also says his history as a volunteer and housing advocate is driven by a sense of fairness. We're fortunate to be blessed with this beautiful community and a high standard of living, he says. We need to provide for those who will help us keep it that way, like educators and service industries. As one CCS administrator noted, Don Allen's shoes must be all worn out from the many extra steps he has taken on behalf of our community.
So this is probably not on the program, but I wanted to say a few personal things about Don. I spend a lot of time with Don. I am on the board of the bank with him, so I get to see him in that capacity, but also I'm a Rotarian and have observed him as not only the president of Rotary, but a leader there, now nominated to be the district governor for Rotary. And I had the pleasure of being involved with him on this fundraising effort for the Cupertino Community Services new office and housing project. One of the very interesting things about Don, I went on a trip with him through San Jose maybe about a year ago, and he is just as well known and just as respected throughout San Jose as he is here. He's got a long business history in San Jose. With all he does here, and with raising $1.8 million for CCS, he's not a resident of Cupertino. His heart is here. His home is in Saratoga, but that never seemed to get in his way for putting in time, energy, and incredible talent to help us out in Cupertino. And I'm certainly proud to know Don, and I cherish every minute I have with him. He can't make it here tonight because he's got a district responsibility with Rotary, a meeting that he is conducting tonight. So in his stead, Dennis Whitaker, a former CREST winner and former Citizen of the Year, is here to accept the award for Don Allen. Dennis?
Just 2 minutes.
Yeah. What we have here tonight is not only an award from the city, but we also have recognitions from the State Senate and from the State Assembly for Don. And I think we're going to have Dennis say a few words here as we would have expected Don to had he been able to make it. So Dennis?
Thank you very much. There's no way anyone can replace what Don would say because no one knows what he's going to say other than "Go Cal." But Don did call me, and I felt very honored when he asked me to come and stand in for him. But he did ask me to make 2 real quick comments. Number one, Don said for over the many years that he tried to contribute to the community, he could not have done it without the staff and the gang at Cupertino National Bank. And you're going to see one of the awardees tonight, Janice Miyatake, receiving an award, justifiably so. But Don wanted me to make sure I said thank you to Janice and thank you to the rest of the bank employees for letting him do what he could do. Don is a tremendous leader and a big heart, and have the combination of the two in a giant is something special. I first met Don in 1983 when Jim Jackson pulled the beginnings of Cupertino National Bank together, and it was at that point that I found out that Don is one of 5 of the best known people in all of Santa Clara Valley. So it was much fun and a great enjoyment to be with him and watch everything take place over the past many years. And I owe a lot of what I ever did thanks to Don as well. So Don, thank you for doing everything you did for all of us. We greatly appreciate you.
We also have a certificate of commendation from the Board of Supervisors, in particular Liz Niss's office just sent over. So we'll add that to the stack of hardware we get to bring home. Here you go.
Thank you very much.
So next up, I think Vice Mayor Chang has an award to give. Michael?
Hello, good evening. It is said that a community is to be judged by how it treats some of the people that are least able to take care of themselves. And I have the real distinct honor and great pleasure to introduce our next awardee tonight, which is the Board of Directors for Cupertino Community Services.
Social service agencies face challenges every day. But last year, Cupertino Community Services was looking at enormous obstacles instead of at mere challenges. Luckily, CCS had a team of 18 men and women who dedicated themselves to overcoming those obstacles. They are the CCS Board of Directors. Each board member normally logs about 10 to 20 hours a month of volunteer work for CCS. Last year, however, Executive Director Jacqueline Fabre says it seemed like there were board and committee meetings every week. The CCS staff has undergone a massive turnover, and 90% of them were new on the job, including the executive director herself. At the same time, the agency's $7 million development project, Heart of Cupertino, was just about to take off, and the contractor, consultant, and architect were waiting for instructions. Without hesitation, the CCS board took matters in hand, assuming duties and responsibilities that would normally go to staff members and providing leadership and support at every turn. Jacqueline says there were times last year when she wondered whether the board members who have full-time jobs were still going to work each day. Through their hard work and steady efforts, the CCS board racked up some extraordinary accomplishments, including leading CCS through the planning and groundbreaking of its Heart of Cupertino project. In addition, the board organized CCS's annual barbecue and auction and the holiday bell ringing event, bringing in a total of nearly $70,000 for the agency. Board members also worked with staff to increase CCS's operational revenue by 20% through foundation and corporate support. For many, many extra steps taken, Cupertino recognizes the CCS Board of Directors. Howard Bauman, President, Tom Hall, Vice President, Paula Davis, Treasurer, Sonia Schur, Secretary, and members Jackie Badley, Chuck Core, Jackie Doyle, Phyllis Ishida, Frank Jalinch, Corrine Lambert, Michael Lashin, Ben Liao, Richard Lowenthal, Dolly Sandoval, Dean Skeels, Dorothy Stowe, Joe Tembrock, and Linda Walker.
This award was nominated by Jacqueline Fabre, which is the executive director of CCS, and usually that seems a little bit suspicious, right, when the executive director nominates the board. But in light of all the great things that this board have done, this board have really performed beyond the call of duty. I think that's the main theme here, because all the good work that CCS does, this board has taken on themselves, whether it be fundraising, whether it be hiring and helping the new staff transition in, whether it be helping out with the new staff in all its work. They have really done so much beyond the call of duty that I think that this award is truly greatly deserved. So congratulations to the board of CCS. Can we have, I don't know, could all the board members come out? How would you like to do it? Looks like Tom Hall is going to accept on their behalf. And he is the vice president of the board of directors. Congratulations, Tom.
Thank you, Michael.
Here's your CREST Award.
All right. Thank you.
And these are the commendations from the various government agencies.
All right. Thank you.
Congratulations. Would you like to say something?
Thank you very much, Michael. I'm here on behalf of Howard Bauman, our president, who unfortunately was just released from the hospital through a minor surgery, was unable to be here. The board of directors has received this award, but the board of directors could not do anything without the staff that has performed exemplary throughout the last few years in all of the projects that we've undertaken. As you heard, we've had a major staff overhaul. Our new executive director has come in, has added significant to the operation, the staff stabilization, and the board stabilization for that matter. But even with the staff They still could not be anything done without all of the volunteers, and you've heard a little bit about that before. But the volunteers that help us every day, we just recently went through our volunteer recognition day, and over 80 people showed up at that dinner, showing the response that we got from our volunteers. That was not all of the volunteers for CCS, but a good portion of them. That, together with the cooperation with the city and the citizens of Cupertino, make Cupertino Community Services what it is. Thank you for this award.
Congratulations again, CCS Board of Directors. The next awardee, again, I feel I'm so honored here tonight to be able to give these awards to these folks. A community such as Cupertino has been changing rapidly, but what gives us an anchor is a knowledge of our past. So we need to, value our past as we change, and our past gives us an anchor and an understanding of the direction of where we want to go in the future. And I'm particularly proud of our next awardee, which is Gail Hugger.
As cities grow and change, as one-horse towns transform into thriving commercial and high-tech centers, it becomes increasingly important to remember and hold fast our heritage. Enter Gail Fretwell Hugger, fourth-generation descendant of the William Regnart family, daughter of Cupertino pioneers, and enthusiastic recorder of Cupertino history. Gail grew up in a family of storytellers who had a passion for history. Her grandparents lived 2 houses away in the Monte Vista area where she was raised, and Gail spent many happy hours there listening to their tales of days gone by. When the Cupertino Historical Society was formed, Gail's parents were among the first to join. She followed soon after, and she's been a member now for nearly 30 years, presently on the board of directors. When the Historical Society opened the Cupertino Historical Museum at the Quinlan Community Center in 1991, Gail and her family were there. Today, she does volunteer work for the museum, collecting and recording documents. Gail's knowledge of local history comes not only from her family's memories, but also from her own extensive research, much of which is gathered at the Cupertino Library, where she works full-time in the circulation unit. She says she's always used the library, and as an employee, she's delighted to have access to such resources as the California Western Americana Collection, an out-of-print and priceless collection of historical books. Such material comes in handy for Gail when she writes her popular monthly Roots column for the Cupertino scene. She took over the column about 10 years ago, and with every article, she brings Cupertino history to life. Gail devotes countless volunteer hours researching her column. She interviews early Cupertino residents, sometimes traveling out of the city to nursing homes and other facilities so that she can tap into the memories that form a picture of the past. And she pores over books and other written documents, verifying facts and collecting information. Gail says preserving a town's heritage requires the efforts of many people, from the dedicated members of the Historical Society to the storytelling old-timers, and finally to future generations that one day learn to appreciate and cherish their community roots.
Gail? Gail has spent so many hours for our community, and every week we look at the Cupertino scene, and we know something that's very familiar is always in there, which is her Roots article. And she has worked so much for the Historical Society, going to the schools and helping us in so various many ways. Thank you so much, Gail.
Thank you very much. Once a month, I usually stand up at this podium and say grace and then tell everybody to go hit the tables for our potluck. So it's a good thing I'm not the last one, or I'd probably do it now. I want to thank Henrietta Marcotte, who is no longer with us, for talking me into taking over doing the Roots column. It's just been a real joy, and I have enjoyed every minute of it. And I'd like to thank my family. I do come from a family of storytellers, and God bless them all. They just have the greatest tales, and hopefully I'll make it around to some of you one of these days, and you can tell me your stories, and they'll show up in the Roots column. And I just thank God that He has allowed me to live in this community all my life. And, you know, my family has been here since the mid-1800s. And just to watch it grow and change and meet all the wonderful people that have come to this community is really a blessing. So thank you.
The CREST Award, Gail. And these are the commendations for the various congratulations, Gail. Next, I would like to call up Council Member Sandra James.
As you can see, we are honoring people for a variety of interaction in the community. Started with a banker, and we have a CCS board helping people that need a helping hand and dealing with affordable housing, and now we have our community history. And I am going to present 2 awards. The first to Richard Knock, who kind of brings all those things together. He's like many of the people in this room, and many of the people have received CREST Awards. He's retired and now busier than he's ever been in his entire life because he's giving all to the community with his many skills. So why don't we hear a little bit about Richard?
Connections. People connecting with people, businesses connecting with schools, those in need connecting with agencies that can help. Connections provide links in a chain we call community. Richard Knock believes in connections. A retired Silicon Valley executive, he uses his own business contacts and he forges new alliances in his untiring effort to support the De Anza College community. For 3 years, Richard has served on the De Anza Commission, a group dedicated to the success of the college. He came to the college as a member of the Alumni Consulting Team, or ACT, a group affiliated with the Stanford Graduate School of Business that provides consulting services for nonprofits. His first project was to help De Anza launch a used book buyback program for students with financial needs. Since then, Richard has been instrumental in advancing the college's technology program. Last year, Richard worked with college administrators to develop a plan to meet the technology training needs of hundreds of students, faculty, and staff. He spent countless hours contacting Silicon Valley business owners and encouraging them to donate equipment to the school. Through earlier networking, Richard and other members of the Stanford team managed to obtain equipment and technical support for De Anza that was worth more than $400,000. His current project is to secure a personal computer for every De Anza student who cannot afford to buy one. To that end, Richard established a connection with a local computer recycling center that supplies reconditioned computers and software for students. It's not unusual to find Richard skillfully working with community members one day, business and industry leaders the next day, and faculty and students the following day. He has conducted numerous meetings and talked with more than 50 representatives of various firms to develop and carry out the consulting team's computer networking project. He's also been actively involved in the college's annual Night of Magic fundraiser, which last year brought in $100,000 for school programs. This year's theme, Science and Technology, is right up Richard's alley, and he's hoping the event will raise another $100,000 to go toward a new building for De Anza's Science and Technology department. What makes a successful fundraiser? Richard says it's enthusiasm and knowing your subject, and of course it's connections, having them, using them, and creating them for the good of your community.
Richard is a Renaissance man who plays in the De Anza Symphony as well as taking classes since the very beginning of the school, and still working in industry and does something that I am a great believer in, as all of you know, and that's that we need to value and foster public public-private partnerships in order to accomplish some of the things that we do in the city and in our universities and in our schools that we cannot do with public funding alone. And he is an example of someone who's been very successful. Richard cannot be with us this evening, but the president of De Anza College, Dr. Martha Cantor, is here to accept his award and say a few words.
Richard has been a light at De Anza College. I first met Richard in the early 90s when I assumed the presidency of the college, and Dolly Sandoval was on the board. And one of the things they asked us to do was open the Advanced Technology Center that had been funded by the state, but guess what? There was no money for equipment. So Richard rose to the occasion, went out, got a whole team of people from the Stanford Business School, people at Cisco, other companies, Apple, and just helped us equip that building so we could open it with the technology that students needed at the time. And since that time, that was in '94 when we opened it, since that time, he just has continued to help us grow in ways that we couldn't have imagined. 2 years later, in '96, a number of our faculty wanted to take advantage and develop a Cisco Systems training program for students. Richard went out and had to access a lot of very complicated equipment. I'm not a technologist. I come from a background in clinical psychology. He put together Cisco and HP partners and a whole variety of community people and got us networked right into Cisco. The day that program opened, it was impacted, and it has filled every year since that time. It's grown, it's been updated. Now, the latest project that he has is to try to get a computer for every student who is economically disadvantaged. And as you know, we have many students who are transitioning from welfare to work. We have a call center training program on campus that trains students with first-level technology skills. And those students now are helping other students who then get the computers that Richard has organized with the Computer Recycling Center and donations from other people to get a fully equipped computer so that they can access the internet and, most importantly to me, do their homework and keep up with all their classes and do well in school. So we just have a tremendous debt of gratitude to this man who is a Cupertino resident, who will continue to be one of our students, who's a fantastic violinist, and as Sandy said, a Renaissance man truly. We're very grateful. Thank you so much.
The second recipient I have the honor to present is Orrin Mahoney. And I ran into Orrin as I was walking up to this building, and he was complaining to me, which of course he never does, was complaining he couldn't find any bike racks around Quinlan Center, which is, if it's true, and I honestly don't know that, is thank you for bringing it to us attention, but this is Bike to Work Week, and this is a man who really values commitments, and he's committed to that, so he biked all around town today, and he biked in his business suit here this evening. Let's hear a little bit more about Orrin Mahoney.
Orrin Mahoney's secret to living a balanced life can be told in 2 words: community volunteerism. He says his involvement in local government and service groups helps round him out as an individual. And in the process, I meet a lot of really neat people, he says. For more than 20 years, Orrin has been performing a balancing act between his family, his career at Hewlett-Packard, and his work in the community. During that time, he's organized a wide range of Cupertino events, from an elementary school carnival to last year's 4th of July celebration for the city. This year, he's chairing the Rotary Club's annual Oktoberfest, an enormous task that will require countless hours of planning and preparation before it's done. Orrin's interest in local government was piqued about 12 years ago when he sat on the city's Goals Committee as the representative from HP. From there, he was appointed to the Cupertino Planning Commission, a position he held for 8 years. His expertise in business and government was put to further use by the Cupertino Chamber of Commerce. Orrin initiated the Chamber's Political Action Committee, and he served on its Economic Development Committee. Because of his sharp intellect and his helpful community insights, Orrin is a much sought-after candidate for local boards. His volunteer efforts have benefited numerous groups and agencies. Cupertino schools and city government, the Rotary Club, the Chamber of Commerce. But the work that has touched him most deeply, he says, has been his involvement with Goodwill Industries. A Goodwill board member for 20 years, Orrin finds immense satisfaction in watching people with disabilities become confident, productive members of society through Goodwill's training programs. Whether he's quietly working behind the scenes or thoughtfully analyzing a government policy or heading up a major community event, there's no question that Orrin Mahoney does make a difference in our community, a big difference.
Come on up, Orrin. One of the things that you didn't learn about Orrin in that tape is that he ran for city council twice, and anybody that'll do that, really deserves a hand, I think. Orrin is everywhere. You see him at Rotary meetings, you see him at Chamber Board meetings, you see him out putting up signs along the roads for anything that's going on, biking around town, and his efforts really permeate almost every part of the community, every fabric of the community. We are truly pleased to have you and honored to give you this award, Orrin.
Thank you. Thanks. Well, first of all, I would like to thank both the nominating committee, or the nominating person, and the selection committee. It really is nice to be recognized for all of the activities. Although, like most of the people that are getting the award tonight, we don't do it for the recognition, or at least I don't do it for the recognition. I probably do it for two reasons. One of them is I really do feel privileged in the best use of that word, to have lived in Cupertino for over 30 years and raised a family, actually two families here, and also to have worked at HP for 35 years, 20 of those, or 20-something in the Cupertino site, and that's given me the opportunity to do a lot of the things that you see there, and the time and the support, both from a family side and a work side. So I also feel the obligation to give back, to give back to the community in any way that I can. The second reason that's more selfish, I guess, is the relationships that I've built while I've been doing that, the friendships that I've made throughout the city. So as Richard said at the beginning of this, the volunteers in Cupertino really, truly make a tremendous difference, and will continue to make a tremendous difference. So thank you.
And I would like to introduce, I think, Patrick. Yes. Patrick Kwok, my fellow council member.
Thank you, Sandy. Cupertino is a city with a lot of people doing community services. It is also a city that values family. It's my pleasure tonight to present Janice Miyatake as a recipient of the CREST Award. She's a supermom with two children, and she's also a vice president manager of Cupertino National Bank. And I don't know how she did it. She has found a lot of time doing a lot of volunteer services. Let's see what she has done so far.
Spider-Man's got nothing on Cupertino supermom Janice Miyatake. While her feats of daring do may not involve capturing bad guys, she is able to weave a web of volunteerism throughout the city with one hand, while juggling family and career with the other. Janice began her history of community service about 6 years ago when she joined the Quota Club of Cupertino. Her oldest son was still in diapers, but she soon became a dedicated member of the group. She has served as treasurer, director of Ways and Means, and chairperson for major fundraisers. 1 year after joining Quota, she added the Chamber of Commerce to her to-do list. She was a chamber ambassador, served on the board of directors, is a member of the Asian American Business Council, and currently serves as the vice president of membership. In her professional life, Janice is a vice president and manager for Cupertino National Bank, and she credits the bank for encouraging its employees to become involved in their community. During the Chamber's annual Art and Wine Festival, Janice handled the finances and contributed countless hours collecting and counting money and working with vendors. She says during that weekend she lives at Memorial Park. Cupertino Community Services has also benefited from the volunteer efforts of this super mom. For several years, Janice has helped organize the check-in and check-out procedure for the annual barbecue and auction, a task that involves a tremendous amount of organization. Always on the lookout for more ways to become involved, Janice also participates in the children's holiday shopping event put on by the Quota and Rotary Clubs. And she's active in Midori Kai, a Japanese professional women's group. Even time spent with her 2 sons is time spent volunteering. She's a den leader for Boy Scouts Tiger Cubs, a helper at soccer and basketball games, and a Sunday school volunteer. Janice Miyatake is truly a superhero. Her boundless energy, dedication to family, and commitment to doing good in the community will testify to that.
Janice is nominated by the Quota International of Cupertino. Congratulations, Janice.
I've had the pleasure to work in Cupertino for 6 years, and I've seen the tremendous amount of support throughout the community. And that's why when I found out I was a recipient of the CREST Award, I was so deeply touched. I couldn't have done this without my family's support and the support from Cupertino National Bank, and especially Don Allen, from day one saying, go out there, get involved in the community, try and make a difference. And through that, you could have seen some of the organizations, this Quota Club, the Boy Scouts, Midori Kai, CCS, and the Chamber of Commerce. And I have to thank all of my friends and family again for all the support when I need them for fundraisers or activities. So thank you.
I'd like to present Dolly Sandoval, our fellow councilwoman, for the next award.
The recipient of the award I'm to present is not only active in the community, but leads a very active business life. Our recipient this evening, excuse me a second, I'm going to do a little bit more of an intro here. Our recipient is a realtor by trade and active at the library during the weekdays and on the evenings on our foundation. Can we please see the video here for Kathy Stakey?
Kathy Stakey believes a library is the pulse of a community, and she's devoted heart and soul to the one in Cupertino. She was appointed to the city's Library Commission 3 years ago, and last year served as its chairperson. She also sits on the city's Library Steering Committee, a group that's involved in developing ideas for the new library. The hours she spends in library meetings and on library events impact her full-time job as a realtor in Cupertino, but Kathy doesn't begrudge that volunteer time. She says she loves the library, the positive feelings it generates between staff and community, and especially the influence it has on Cupertino's younger residents. Kathy coordinates all of the high school volunteers during the library's 3 book sales throughout the year, giving up 12 workdays herself to help with the sales. The teens from School Interact and Key Clubs and other groups work alongside the adult volunteers, sharing responsibilities and gaining valuable experience in community service. She says working with the students gives her a chance to see their strongest qualities emerge, and she is amazed at the energy they bring to the events. Her efforts with the teens have brought such a good response from high school groups that she now must limit the number of young volunteers who can help with the book sales. An avid reader with a passion for libraries, Kathy has a pride in the Cupertino facility that shines through in every conversation. She points to the children's section, calling it the best in the system. And she says story times are inspiring because Cupertino librarians represent all cultures of our community. A true and dedicated friend of the Cupertino Library, Kathy has an obvious answer when people ask her why she loves the library. She just tells them, why go in and look around.
I must tell you why I faltered a moment when I was going to say Kathy's name, and every speaker will tell you not to correct your mistakes, but go on as if you never made them. As you see in the program, Kathy's name is printed as Katherine. And when we had this mini conversation at the beginning of this, she says, only when I'm in trouble do my parents call me Katherine. So, of course, what stuck in my mind then was Katherine, but Kathy Stakey is a realtor by trade and gives up many hours to serve on our library commission and is also a member of the Friends of the Cupertino Library. I present Kathy Stakey.
Thank you. And I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity to talk about the library. We're building a new library, and I really, really am proud of our Cupertino Library. If you go in there, I know you will not question this. The staff has the highest morale in there that I have ever seen, and I absolutely and positively know it's because of our librarian director, Mary Ann Wallace. So we have the best library in the system. Use it, and we are going to be building a new library, and we need your support to make that happen. So that's about all I want to say, and I really enjoy living in Cupertino, and to me, I want to be a part of it, not giving back, but continuously a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Tonight we've honored education, library, community service. It's my pleasure to welcome the mayor back up here for our last presentation.
Now, why do you always clap when it's my last presentation? Well, I'm honored to be able to present another award tonight. It's to a fellow who, frankly speaking, I met for the first time tonight, but a gracious fellow and somebody who's been nominated by his friends, as it should be. His name is Robert Yee, and Bob. Well, I think the tape will probably speak for him. Let's roll.
When it comes to getting people together, Bob Yee knows all the right moves. An active member of the Cupertino Senior Center, Bob has been sharing his twin passions, exercise and music with local seniors for more than 20 years. Through his Tai Chi, golf, and music classes, he has provided a common meeting ground for people from all walks of life, from all cultural backgrounds. He says he just wants to put a little fun in people's lives, and what better way than to get them moving? If the soft Qigong exercises aren't everyone's cup of tea, Bob says, how about some music? In 1981, after he retired, Bob joined the local Hayseed Band as a guitar and ukulele player. The band later became the Rhythmaires and still performs throughout the community. He was also a founding member of the Cupertino Swing Band. Although Bob doesn't play professionally anymore, he passes his love of music on to others through the popular ukulele classes at the Senior Center. Administrators at the center say Bob not only comes up with great ideas for classes and programs, but he often goes one step further in offering to teach them. 12 years ago, this ageless and energetic volunteer decided to organize a golf tournament for the Senior Center. Today, he's busy coordinating the 13th Annual Senior Center Golf Tournament and suggesting it's time for another introductory class for new seniors who want to learn the game. Since he's been involved in the Senior Center, Bob has never stopped contributing. He gives freely of his time, expertise, and funds, teaching classes, making custom golf clubs as donations for fundraisers, pitching in financially to ensure that homebound seniors are not forgotten. Whether he's finding someone to give hula dancing lessons at the Senior Center or assembling ukuleles for his class, Bob Yee brings a joy and zest for life that makes the world a brighter place. He brings the warmth of his native Hawaii to the Cupertino community. He brings us all together into a circle of welcome.
Now, I wasn't sure that anybody could top Orrin Mahoney's claim of longevity here in Cupertino, but Bob's lived here over 40 years, so top that. So he's been here a long time. He was born in Hawaii, and I understand picked up the ukulele later over here, but there's no way you could find anybody to hire to do all the things that Bob does. I mean, this could only come from the heart, and Bob clearly brings that heart to the senior center. And you'll notice in those pictures that he shares his culture and the culture of Asia with other people that wouldn't otherwise be exposed. It's a real service to our community what he does to bring us all together. I'm glad to introduce him. He's a fellow golfer. I'm hoping to get one of his golf clubs someday. Maybe we can work out something. I don't know. I hope so. But what a great volunteer, and how many lives he's touched and changed here in Cupertino. Bob Yee.
It's a great honor to be here tonight. I'd like to say something about the Cupertino Senior Center, my second home. Great place to be. And I want to thank all the people at the center that made all of this possible. Julia Lammy, and I haven't forgotten Diane Snow, who's back here tonight, and Teresa, Linda, Joan, all of the volunteers at Cupertino. I want to thank them for making all of this possible. And this is not a complaint, okay? But all my life in school, in the Army, everything was alphabetical order. and I was always the last person. And then what happened in school, a young Japanese girl came in class when I was in the 8th grade, and her name was Sandra Zuckeron. But I was always last, and when I was in the Army, I was in the last platoon. Thank you.
So he's also a comedian, among all those other things. So why don't we have everybody come up here so we can take one more look at all of you. So all the awardees, if you wouldn't mind stepping up to the stage and bring your awards with you for a few photos. Bob's got something to add. Now, I think he likes being last. So here you go.
For all of you seniors in Cupertino, my suggestion to you is come to my Tai Chi class. Thank you.
Doesn't make you proud to be just with these people? It sure does for me. This is our CREST class of the year 2002, and I think they're wonderful. And it's just so exciting to be part of this presentation, and I'm honored to be the mayor in the year when they're honored as our CREST winners. So thanks very much to all of you.